Mark and Joseph had been best friends since childhood, bonded by their shared love for hiking and exploring abandoned places. It was a cold October afternoon when Joseph stumbled upon a blog post about an old manor deep in the woods of Pinehill Valley, a place locals refused to talk about. They said the manor was cursed, that no one who entered ever came out the same. Mark, ever the skeptic, laughed it off. Ghost stories for kids, he said. But Joseph was intrigued. That Friday evening, they packed their gear and set out. The manor was a 3-hour hike into the forest, nestled in overgrown trees and choked by vines. By the time they reached it, the sky had turned dark. The building stood silent, the paint peeled like dry skin, and its shattered windows seemed to watch them like eyes. "This place is dead," Mark whispered, half joking. Joseph pushed open the massive wooden door. It groaned like a dying animal. They stepped into a grand decaying hallway. Broken furniture lay in heaps, and a thick layer of dust coated everything. Faint red stains dotted the floor, trailing down the corridor. Joseph raised his flashlight. "You see that?" "Looks like paint," Mark said, though his voice wavered. They followed the trail, which led to a staircase winding into the basement. The air grew colder with each step. Downstairs, the light flickered against old stone walls covered in claw-like scratches. The smell of iron filled their noses. Then they saw it. An altar, crudely built from bones. A woman's decayed skeleton lay upon it, her hands tied, mouth open in a scream that had long since turned to silence. Suddenly, the basement door slammed shut above them. The lights died. "Mark!" Joseph shouted, fumbling with his flashlight. It flickered, and then turned on. In its beam, something moved. A figure stood at the far end of the basement, a woman in a tattered white dress, her face hidden by long, matted hair. Her skin was pale, too pale except for the thick smear of blood dripping from her mouth. She didn't walk, she glided towards them. They ran. Mark tripped on the steps, his scream echoing through the darkness. Joseph yanked him up, but the ghost was already there, screeching, her mouth unhinged, revealing jagged yellow teeth soaked in crimson. She lunged. They barely made it into a side room and slammed the door shut. Heavy breathing filled the silence. "What the hell is that?" Mark gasped. Joseph backed away from the door. "It's her. The story said a woman was murdered here during a ritual. They say she was sacrificed for eternal hunger. Blood hunger." Suddenly the door splintered. Fingers long and bone-thin reached through. They ran again, finding a narrow passage that led into a hidden chamber behind the walls. Inside were symbols painted in blood, ancient and pulsing like they were alive. "She was bound to this place," Joseph whispered, trembling. "Maybe we can trap her." Mark pulled out a lighter. "Then let's burn it all." But just as he struck it, the ghost appeared behind Joseph, whispering a soundless scream. Joseph froze, his eyes wide. Mark shouted, "Run!" But Joseph didn't move. The ghost's arms wrapped around Joseph. Blood poured from his eyes, ears and mouth as the ghost fed. Mark turned and fled, barely able to hear Joseph's final choking gurgle. Mark made it to the hallway, but the manor was shifting. Rooms changed, doors vanished. The house was alive, feeding her. Then he heard Joseph's voice behind him. "Help me." He turned. Joseph stood in the hallway, his eyes black, blood flowing down his cheeks, grinning. "She's inside me now," Joseph whispered, "and she's still so hungry." The lights went out. Mark's screams echoed through the night, and then fell silent. To this day, hikers report hearing footsteps and muffled cries near the ruins of Pinehill Manor. Some claim to see two young men staring from the broken windows. And if you listen closely in the silence of night, you might hear a woman whisper, "I'm still hungry."